students, hope you are enjoying your indefinite holiday. Now we are back to the class. This is the continuation of what we did the other time. So this is JS1, mathematics for those in JS1. I remember the other time we met, we talked about, I gave you the theories of the plane shapes. Talk about plane shapes like the rectangle, the square, the triangle, the circles, the trapezium, the parallelogram. We've done that in details. I gave you the details of the properties of each of the plane shapes. Now we are coming to another aspect of the plane shape, which is the perimeter. What do we mean by the perimeter? This is a topic that we always meet in mathematics when we deal in equations that has to do with geometry, that is the diagram. Now, perimeter of plane shapes. The perimeter of a plane shape is the distance around the plane shape. When you talk about the perimeter, talk about the distance around the edge of the plane shape. When we talk about, if I want to measure the perimeter of this board, I have to talk about the distance round this white board. That is the perimeter. So the distance round is the perimeter. There is a plane shape, a form of plane shape, a circle. In circle, we don't normally talk about the perimeter, we talk about the circumference. They are just the same. So the perimeter is the distance around the shape. Now, we go immediately to the perimeter of regular shapes. What do we mean by regular shapes? You know, when you talk about irregular shapes that are irregular, we don't deal with that, but irregular shapes are stones. Those shapes that are not, they don't have a definite pattern. And for such shape, you cannot find the perimeter just as we are doing. You can only use the thread, the rope, you tie it around the shape and just measure it on a ruler. That's how to find the perimeter of such irregular shape. But we are dealing with perimeter of regular shapes that are defined, like rectangle, square, triangle, circles. These are regular shapes that are defined. Now, the first of this regular shape is the rectangles. The rectangles, just as we discussed in our previous lesson, this is the rectangle. A rectangle comprises of the length and the breadth. There's a rectangle. Now, the perimeter, what's the perimeter? If you want to get the perimeter of this rectangle, you have to calculate the distance, add it up to, calculate the length, add it up to the breadth, this length again. So, you have to get the distance around this rectangle, and that is the perimeter. So, the formula, there is a formula for it. The formula for it in mathematics is 2 bracket L plus B. This L stands for length. This B stands for breadth. So once you know the length, you know the breadth, you add up the length and the breadth, times it, multiply it by 2. That is the perimeter of a rectangle. So we are going to work an example to protest our point with an example. Say this example says, calculate the perimeter of a lawn tennis court of 15 meter by 25 meter. Lawn tennis court, you know, they will have 2 lawn tennis courts in here in the seminary, 2 lawn tennis courts, and the lawn tennis court has the shape, the court, each of the lawn tennis courts has the shape of a rectangle. So this is the measurement of that lawn tennis court. We want to calculate the distance. Instead of going around to measure the distance, just once you know the length and the breadth, you just use the formula. Perimeter of a rectangle, is equal to 2 bracket L plus B, just as this formula. You have to get this formula. This is the formula anywhere you are solving perimeter of rectangles anywhere in the world. This is the formula, 2 bracket L plus B. So, and from what we have here, our length is normally the longer side, and our length is 25 plus 15. So that's we have substituted the length with 25 and then breadth with 15. And remember that once you calculate the perimeter, you have to be conscious of the units. The unit here is meter, so the units are the same. When you are working with units, they can give you different units like cm and meter coming together, you have to make sure that they are on the same unit before you start working. You must ensure that they are the same, so that the perimeter will have one unit, either centimeter or meter, but this one will have just meter. So once you fix the numbers, then this is equal to 2 brackets. This bracket means time. 15, 25 plus 15, it will give us 40. So 2 times 40 will give you 80 meters. So these 80 meters, that is the perimeter of this lawn tennis court. Just very simple. The formula, and then fixing the numbers, then you get the answer. Then there must be 80. Don't just write 80. You must indicate 80 meters or centimeters, the case may be. So the second regular shape we are going to discuss, find the perimeter we discussed, was the squares. This is a square. One, you know that a square is a plane shape in which all the sides are equal. All the 4 sides are equal. It's a quadrilateral, a 4-sided shape. All the sides are equal. That's a square. So in a square, we don't talk about length and breadth. We talk about length, because the sides are all equal. So this is a square with the equal length. And then, so the perimeter, the formula for the perimeter of a square is 4L, meaning 4 times the length. You get it? So that's the formula. 4L means 4 times multiply the length. That's how you get the perimeter. So remember, for the rectangle is 2 brackets L plus B. So you must have to add before you multiply. You add before the multiply, but for the case of the length, the square, you just multiply the length by 4. You get the. So we do this example says the roof of the academic days office. You know, the roof of my office is a square with a perimeter of 64 meters. We have been given the perimeter. Now the question says find the length of the side of the roof. The perimeter has been given to be 64 meters. So you have to find the length. Now, just all you need to do is now, in order to work this out, say perimeter of a square, the perimeter of a square is equal to 4L. This L stands for, so you have been given the perimeter, which is what? 64 is equal to 4L. In mathematics, when you see this kind of thing, you can say 4L is equal to 64. They are just the same. So you divide both sides, as I told you, divide both sides by 4 in order to make L the subject of the formula. So it becomes 4L all over 4 is equal to 64 all over 4. And 4 cancels 4. 4 divide itself 1, divide 64 will give you 16. 4 divided 64 will give you 16. So L will be equal to 16 meters. So that's the answer. L is equal to 16 meters. So that's the answer. So this is the third plane shape. We are going to the triangle. We have discussed that, the qualities of triangle. You know, we have 4 types of triangle which we have discussed. So this is the perimeter for any kind of triangle, whether isosceles triangle, equilateral triangle, scalene triangle, or right angle triangle. So what we are discussing here concerns every triangle. Now, we have a triangle. This is a typical triangle with sides A, B, and C. Normally, a triangle has 3 sides. So the perimeter of a triangle is equal to A plus B plus C. So whichever triangle you are considering, once you are talking about the perimeter, just calculate the 3 sides. Add up the 3 sides. The sum of the 3 sides of the triangle is the perimeter, just the sum. So A plus B plus C. So A plus A, B, C represent the 3 sides of the triangle. Once you add up the three sides of the triangle, you get the perimeter. For example, calculate the perimeter of a triangle with sides 7 centimeter by 9 centimeter by 6 centimeter long. And remember, they are all in centimeters, so we have no problem with that. If some of them, their questions could be asked whereby they will write centimeter, they will write meters. Remember what I said, that whichever one, you must make sure before you start calculating or you start adding or dividing or multiplying, you must ensure that they have the same unit, either meter all through or centimeters all through. So this one, they have centimeters all through, so that the answer will have 1 unit. Now, the solution, we have normally say perimeter. The perimeter of the triangle equal to A plus B plus C. So you fix the numbers. We have 7 plus 9 plus 6, and that will give you 7 plus 9 will give you 16. 16 plus 8 will give you 22 centimeter. So it will always end in centimeter. This is the unit of measurement for this particular question. So with that, we move to circle. So this is a circle. We have discussed the qualities of a circle, and we have discussed in a step the regions of the circle and all that. So this is circle in general. This is a circle with its radius. And I remember when we are treating the parts of the circle, we have also what we call the diameter. The line, this is the center of the circle. Any line from the center of the circle to the circumference of the circle is the radius. And the radius is the diameter is 2 times the radius. So always remember that 2r is equal to the d, which is the diameter. So if you want to get the diameter, you times the radius by 2, you get the diameter. And if you want to get the diameter from the radius, the diameter is equal to the radius will be equal to the diameter divided by 2. So if you are given the diameter and you don't have the radius, just divide the diameter by 2, you get the radius. The diameter is equal to 2 radii. 2 times radius will give you the diameter. So you have to note this because it's very important. In some questions, they will give you just the diameter for you to find the radius from the diameter. So the perimeter of a circle is the circumference. In the circle, we don't normally talk about the term. It is not mathematically sound for you to talk about the perimeter of a circle. No. Normally, we talk about the circumference of a circle. So, in terms of when you are dealing with circle, you talk about the circumference. The circumference is the distance round, essentially the way we consider perimeter in all the plane shape. But in the circle, we call it the circumference of the circle. So that's why I say the perimeter of a circle is the circumference of the circle. And then the formula for the circumference of the circle is equal to 2 pi r. That's the formula. So these formulas it's very important to know them, because once you know the mathematics has to do with formulas. Once you know the formulas, you have known how to solve it. So the circumference is 2 pi r, where r is the radius. So r stands for the radius, and the pi has a value. Pi is 22/7. So wherever you see pi in mathematics, anywhere, both in the junior secondary and the senior secondary, the value of pi is a Greek alphabet. The value of pi is 22/7. Now we solve the example below. Say the diameter of a circular base of a round house. The diameter of a circular base of a round house is 14 meters. What is the circumference of the base of the house? So here we are told to find the circumference, which is also the perimeter. But now we are given the diameter. The formula says 2 pi r. We are given the diameter. So we have to consider this radius. We want you to get the radius from the diameter. You divide the diameter by 2, you get the radius. So we get going with the solution to it. So now, for the question said that the diameter of the circular base, we are given the diameter to be 14 meters. So the diameter the radius is equal to the diameter divided by 2. Diameter divided by 2. From the equation here, the radius is, the diameter is 14. So 14 divided by 2 will give you 7. So our 7 is the radius. Now we solve the circumference. So circumference now is equal to 2 pi r. That is the formula. So 2 times the value of pi is 22 over 7, as we say. Then times our r now is 7. Our r is 7. So we now divide 7. Now 2 times 22 will give you 44. And what is it? Meter or centimeter? 44 meters. So that is the answer. So the circumference of the base of the house is 44 meters. So